The National Assembly is set to host a major international conference on renewable energy aimed at transforming the country's energy sector. The chairman of the House Committee on Renewable Energy, Afam Ogene, disclosed this in Abuja. He says the conference, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, will bring together key stakeholders, industry experts, and lawmakers from across Africa to discuss ways to harness renewable energy. The event aims to promote dialogue and knowledge sharing on renewable energy legislation, investment, and development. It is expected to propose new policies and reforms to boost the use of renewable energy in Nigeria and provide a platform for stakeholders to discuss challenges and opportunities in the renewable energy sector. The conference will focus on developing a national legislative framework on renewable energy and will explore ways to increase private and public sector investment in renewables. We will take a short break, and when we return, I will introduce my guest. Stay with us. Our guest is Honourable Clement Jimbo from Akwa Ibom State. Honourable, it's a pleasure having you on the Hallowed Chambers.
Thank you.
The Parliament in Nigeria battles allegation of a rubber stamp. Why has it been difficult for this arm of government to assert itself?
Yeah, the Constitution has already given us that responsibility and that power to legislate for the entire nation, just like the judiciary and, of course, the executive. But if you look at the Constitution first recognized the legislative arm of government. And that is important, very, very important. Important in the sense that we make the laws that the executive will ever use to drive home their promises to the citizenry. And of course, the judiciary interprets the laws that we make. Then coming to your question, where the perception centers around being too comfortable with the executive, whatever policy that the executive throws at the National Assembly, the public perceive it as us taking it hook, line, and sinker, and that's not very true. I will use this scenario to answer the question effectively. I see it as a husband and a wife. That you see a husband and a wife being compatible in public. They go out, they hold hands together, they have a cordial conversation, and people see it from afar and admire. Does not mean that when they are in their house, their room, their parlor, there is no misunderstanding. They don't sort out differences. But they are matured in a way that they manage their differences, that outsiders do not see the differences. That is what I will describe the 10th National Assembly. Yes, we have our differences with the executive, but we've been able to manage it in such a way that it doesn't really show to the public that indeed there are differences. And the synergy the public see, Nigerians see on television is what they interpret as being rubber stamp, but it is not. I've witnessed several situations where we have closed-door sessions, executive sessions. Is it in the oversight function that we have with MDS? Is it even before even the budget presentation by the president? All those executive sessions and indoor sessions are all maturity expressed to iron out differences before we now throw our doors open to the public. So, if Nigerians call us rubber stamp, it's not entirely true. We are not. We are not, in the sense that If you look at the last piece of legislation we engaged in before we went on this long vacation was what the presidency sent to us, declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. What they sent to us is not what we gave to the president. We had to amend the content of the declaration message to affirm the fact what is already given to us in the Constitution, whereby it is stated in sections, I think section 6, section 7, subsection 6b, that says if a House of Assembly fails to make laws or is unable to make laws, National Assembly shall take over the responsibility of such State House of Assembly. And since the presidency or the executive did not see that if a House of Assembly cannot make law, the responsibility now lies in the National Assembly. So we drew the attention of the executive and copiously inserted in the terms of declaration sent to us to give us that power for us to exercise that function. If it was indeed a rubber stamp National Assembly, that would not have happened. And that has given rise to the fact that I think last week, the National Assembly, via the ad hoc committee that was set up, invited the sole administration to give account on its stewardship so far since it took over leadership in Rivers State.
Talking about the state of emergency in Nigeria, the rule stipulates that members should vote using an electronic voting system, but we didn't see that happen.
I will differ with you. I was in the plenary day on that day from start to finish. In fact, it was when one of my colleagues, Honourable Ogocha, representing a constituency in Abia State from the Labour Party, raised a point of order, calling the attention of the Speaker and the House that the House has not made a quorum based on what the Constitution establishes. And I quickly, immediately, at that point, rushed to the attendance decks. I counted all the members that clock in their name and their constituency in the plenary of that day. I equally discovered that we were 243 as against 240, which is a two-thirds majority of members of the National Assembly. So at the end of the plenary on that day, the Speaker announced the total number of members that attended. And when the voice vote was put by the Speaker, almost, in short, everybody answered yes. And when the voice vote for nay was equally put up, there was no any dissenting voice, meaning that it was unanimous.
So how well do you think the legislature at the state and the national levels is asserting itself as an arm of government?
No, we are independent. I can say that authoritatively, we are independent. And when we talked about the independence of an arm of government, let us not lose the fact that we operate a nation, Nigeria. That we are independent does not mean we cannot see a member of the executive arm of government and shake hands, or the executive will invite us for a function and we don't attend, or we see the judiciary, we cannot attend their function. No, that is not what it means. To the truest part of it, it is on the function. For example, I recall before the executive presented the 2025 budget that is currently on, the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 says that the executive has to make the budget presentation at least 4 months before the end or before the commencement of another budget cycle. But that did not happen. When it was close to October, I moved a motion calling the attention of the federal government that they are already failing in their responsibility. And that spiraled into January where they presented the budget. So if we are indeed not independent, we will not have the courage to even look at the executive in the eyes and tell them, look, what you are doing is not right. And the executive immediately adjusted to that. We equally knew the challenges they were facing because of reorganization of the entire budget process of Nigeria. It wasn't really a walk in the park, but we needed to raise that point of order or motion for them to be up and doing, that whoever that is saddled with that responsibility should make sure that it does it and on time, because we equally in the National Assembly, we require that time in order for our oversight function to be robust. And that, as anyone can see with what is happening in the Public Petition Committee, Public Accounts Committee rather, the numbers of millions of dollars that they've recovered. If effectiveness is not put into place, those results will not be there.
Let's talk about the gale of defections. Incidentally, your party seems to be benefiting more. Are we nearing a one-party state?
Yes, should I say I should smile or laugh or show gratitude? But that is not the case. I would rather say that what is currently happening in Nigeria in terms of the political parties, all of them almost coming to the All Progressives Congress, is because of leadership. The All Progressives Congress as a party, a political party, has shown leadership. Leadership that has attracted people to come to us. Yes, because some years back it was not so. We have evolved. We have consistently maintained our trajectory, and that has translated into the influx of other political parties into our party. It is not a one-party system. The last I checked in the INEC portal, we still have about close to 18 political parties. They are there. So APC happens to be the most prominent. Of course, you will all know that some years back, PDP nicknamed themselves as a religion in Nigeria. But that goes to show that nothing lasts forever. Even the All Progressives Congress that we are celebrating today, a time will come that another political party will come out and say, APC, you are no longer going to be in the saddle. So while we are here, we must take the most and make sure we better the lots of all Nigerians. So I'm very happy that governors are defecting to our party to give us a seamless victory in the 2027 general elections.
Don't forget that many Nigerians are not pleased with the APC government. So what is the attraction?
I disagree totally. It's just that everybody seems to focus on the federal government. Like the president did on the 29th of May 2023 when he was inaugurated. He removed subsidy. Yes, he floated the naira. But that has translated into several billions of naira into the hands of state governors. The question is, how many of these citizens of Nigeria are holding their governors accountable? Can citizens look at their governors in the eye and call a spade and not one of agricultural's implement? Ask them questions. The president has done the best, to my own assessment, by making sure monies are distributed to governors as it has amassed from the federation account. And the governors in turn should make sure they implement projects that touch the lives of people.
How do you explain the rising inflation in the country?
The rising inflation? Of course, you know, inflation is a general prices, a general increase of the prices of items. And we can pinpoint where those things are coming from. Right now, we are gradually entering into the rainy season, which is, let me say, gradually stopping the speed at which farmers go to farm to till. And this is the planting season. So what that means is that the storage, the food storage bank that we have is gradually being depleted because this is not harvesting season. So Nigerians should just bear a little bit once we move into the harvesting season, which I know that the area, the hectares of farm, the land cultivated in this very season is far, 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 far more than what we did last year. So the harvest that we are going to procure in the 2025 harvesting season will be enough to take care of Nigerians in 2026, even when we enter into the farming season.
But you and I know that most farmers have been driven away from their land by bandits. It does seem the security agencies are not doing enough to subsume insecurity.
I agree with you, but not in totality. Just because in the last 2024-5 budget that we've just passed into law, we appropriated in the budget a humongous amount, close to about 4 trillion, to tackle our security challenges. And one thing we should equally know is that most of this equipment are imported into Nigeria. And sometimes you place order for the manufacturers to start designing to suit your peculiar needs, and they will start procuring the gradual process. So until it is finally delivered, sometimes it takes months, if not years. So it is a walk in the park. I must commiserate with anyone in Nigeria, any state in Nigeria that has been impacted by the activities of banditry. And let me equally say this to anyone that is indulging in taking the life of a fellow human being. It is against God. It is against humanity. And you will never go scot-free. So desist from it.
That is all on our program this week. Do remember that you can watch this episode again and several others on TVC News YouTube channel. Do follow us on all our social media platforms to enjoy the latest news and updates from Nigeria and across the world. Thank you for watching. I am Tijesu Adeoye. See you next time.